Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. A popular Toronto restaurant is facing unexpected construction woes. The Church Street garage in the village is currently without access to its front entrance, and that's been the case for 4 days already. Now, staff say the doorway has been blocked by a city construction project since Monday. Tyler Cheese is live for us tonight outside Church Street garage. And Tyler, the construction taking the restaurant by complete surprise.
Yeah, Kelda, I spoke with the general manager earlier today, and he says the biggest issue is that they had no notice that this project was even happening. So construction crews show up, they've got a patio full of people, and they start drilling, so they've got to run inside because of the dust and the debris. Obviously not a great situation for a restaurant, and as you mentioned, they also have been without front door access since this all began.
Why isn't there like any sort of platform with railings made out of plywood and 2x4s for the patrons to come in through our front door?
Church Street Garage's general manager says this city construction project has had a huge impact on the restaurant's business this week.
We've lost lots of revenue. We look like we are closed as a business. It doesn't look like you can get into our establishment. We had sandwich boards saying that we're open and signs along the garage doors on the perimeter saying that we are still open, but they're easy to avoid.
He blames the city for general disorganization and for a lack of proper notification.
When things like this happen, and we're notified, we can possibly just close to the public for those days and possibly do like a mini renovation, like a paint job or some sort of upkeep if the restaurant needs it. But, you know, we had no opportunity to do that.
Normally, we would have been informed and then would have put out a notice to the community that would be affected.
The city councillor for the area says the project, an accessibility upgrade, was subcontracted to a third party.
Some subcontractors do notify us, and they have notified us, but in this case they have not. So based on this experience, I'm going to look back at our policies and see if there needs to be some tweaking.
He was told the project should be completed by this weekend, but restaurant staff aren't so sure. They're concerned the heavy rainfall this week will prolong construction.
A lot of people like to go out on Fridays and Saturdays. I know we'll be drastically hit on Friday and Saturday.
In the meantime, he's hoping that something can be done to at least open up the main entrance.
A ramp in place would be nice.
Now, there is a back entryway into the restaurant, but it's not super obvious, and you have to walk by a bunch of garbage cans to get in. So the biggest concern for staff is that people think that they're closed. That's why they're trying to get the word out. They are still open, and they'll take any support they can get. Kelda?
All right, thanks so much, Tyler. That's our Tyler Cheese reporting live for us tonight. It's a bill many were not expecting. Tens of thousands of Toronto homeowners have filed a complaint with the city after getting a bill for a vacant home tax, despite having a home that they claim is occupied. About 150,000 people received notices from the city after they missed the March 15th deadline to declare occupancy. An online portal to submit a complaint opened on Tuesday. By Wednesday, the city says it had already received more than 55,000 complaints filed by homeowners. Tonight, the city released a statement saying council will be seeking authority to waive the $21 late fee, given the challenges that many people face. And indeed, people we spoke to today were frustrated by the process.
I know there are some process, appeal or complaint, but my question is why I should go through this process. They have the evidence, information that the home is not vacant. I'm paying city utility bills regularly.
It might be that the presumption should be the other way, that the residences are presumed to be occupied unless there's a reason to doubt otherwise.
How can people remember all the deadline? People busy working every day. Make it easy.
People lined up all day at City Hall trying to clear up the confusion. The vacant home tax rate sits at 1%, so many homeowners receive notices for thousands of dollars. A home is considered vacant if it is unoccupied for 6 months, a year or more. Mayor Olivia Chow acknowledged today that the system needs work.
If they have filed prior to March 15th, they've done everything right. They do not have to pay. I understand the frustration, the occasional, oh my God, look at this bill. But we're cleaning up this mess. I apologize. by the time I arrived here, the system is already set. I'm seeing the impact of it. It is not acceptable the way that we rolled out this program.
And Chow adds that she understands firsthand the shock of receiving the bill. She said she got a late notice last year after she missed the deadline. In a statement, the city also said it is reviewing the process and aiming to make improvements for next year. Homeowners have until December 31st to file a complaint. Ford Motor Company is delaying production of electric vehicles at its Oakville plant by 2 years. The auto manufacturing giant making the announcement today, which will impact thousands of workers. Del Manakdak has more on what's behind the delay.
Ford's Oakville plant was supposed to start production of 3-row electric vehicles next year. Instead, the company announcing that it's pushing back the start date until 2027. That decision impacting some 3,200 workers.
Our members were excited to be part of this EV transition. They've had a commitment made to them, promises have been made, and we expect Ford Motor Company to live up to that.
The union's national president met with Ford executives in Michigan on Tuesday when she first learned of the delay. The news coming just before work to overhaul the plant, which will cost $1.8 billion, is set to begin. The construction is still on schedule.
Based on the time frame of the retooling that we knew of at that point in time, we negotiated EV supports for our members, upwards of 70% of their pay.
That deal was for 8 months of support, not 3 years. Ford says the delayed production will allow for the consumer market for 3-row EVs to further develop and enable Ford to take advantage of emerging battery technology. In a statement, Ford Canada's CEO says, "We are committed to taking care of our valued Oakville employees through this transition. While this change requires a revision to the timeline, it will support a viable and growing future for our company, employees, and dealers." The shift drawing reaction from the provincial and federal governments, each of whom have heavily invested in supporting the EV market.
Our vision was to make sure that the Oakville plant would be the first in line to go from the combustion engine to the electric engine. We wanted to be first in North America to produce them. That was the vision. That's why we invested to retool, and we wanted that period between the old vehicle and the new one to be as short as possible.
Specifically, the feds and Ontario each put up $295 million back in 2020 to secure the Oakville plant investment.
I'm going to try to push forward as hard as I can to not wait 3 years to retool. We need to retool as quickly as possible, get workers back to work, or they're going to end up losing the workers.
So the federal and provincial governments on the same page here. They both say they'll try to get Ford Motors to shrink its new timeline, and they both say they'll work to support Unifor's members. As for the union, there is a clause in their contract with Ford Motors that allows them to reopen negotiations if there was a delay in the timeline. So they've exercised that clause. They're waiting for Ford Motors to come to the table. Dale Manakdak, CBC News.
Welcome back. A collision reconstruction specialist continued his testimony at the trial of Umar Zamir today. Zamir has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder in the death of Toronto police officer Jeffrey Northrup. Greg Ross takes us through today's testimony.
Detective Constable Jeff Bassingwaite was on the stand for a second straight day. He's an accident reconstruction specialist for Toronto Police and created a 3D scan of the parking garage where Constable Jeffrey Northrup was killed on July 2nd, 2021. Under cross-examination, the defense focused on an OPP-enhanced security video from the parking garage, going through it frame by frame with Bassingwaite. The defense used the video to meticulously match up what the jury was watching on the screen with what Bassingwaite wrote in his report. And in his report, Bassingwaite described how the front end of Zamir's car veered in a manner described as off-tracking as he was reversing from the parking spot. Off-tracking happens as the front wheels of the vehicle steer outwards to turn. This is important to Bassingwaite's theory because he believes Northrup was standing on the driver's side as Zamir's car swung around. He says it likely sideswiped Northrup, causing him to fall to the ground. This is in direct contradiction to testimony of 3 other officers who were witnesses that day. Last week, those officers testified that Northrup was standing in front of Zamir's car. Bassingwaite also noted a mark on the front driver's side fender of Zamir's car referred to as a cleaning mark, which he says is consistent with glancing contact to Northrup. The defense pointing out that there's no way of knowing if Northrup was injured, if the car knocked him down, or if he lost his footing. Bassingwaite agreed. On the OPP-enhanced video, Bassingthwaighte isolated a frame in his report that appears to show an unidentified object in front of the vehicle, which he believes is Northrop. One frame later, the headlights appear to have raised up, which Bassingthwaighte says is consistent with a hard acceleration or the car's front wheels driving over something. The defense also asked Bassingthwaighte about blind spots, suggesting that if Northrop was on the ground directly in front of the vehicle, the hood of Zamir's car could have created a blind spot, preventing him from seeing Northrop. Bassingthwaighte agreed that it was possible. The Crown also called Dr. Tyler Hickey as a witness today. He's a forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy on Constable Northrop. He had determined that the cause of death was multiple blunt force trauma. In his report, Dr. Hickey described multiple injuries to Northrop's body from head to toe, including fractures, abrasions, cuts, and a dislocated right knee. The Crown has not officially rested their case. That's expected to happen sometime tomorrow, at which point the defense says they will be ready to call their first witness. They say they will only need a few days to present their case to the jury. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
New rules regulating rooming houses across the city came into effect this week. Operators are now required to apply for one of two licenses. They must also follow rules to ensure the health and safety of residents. But one owner of unlicensed group homes in Scarborough says she's unable to comply with the new rules without financial help. Ryan Patrick Jones has those details.
Simone Sewell runs 3 group homes in Scarborough for residents with mental and physical health challenges. Most provide their disability or pension checks in exchange for room and board, 3 meals a day, and help taking medication. For years, she's operated without provincial or municipal approval. She now has a pathway to becoming legal, but is worried she can't follow the new rules without financial support.
They pay us $36.66 per day, and that $36.66 has to cover all the overall operation of the business, have to cover their 3 meals, the laundry, medication, staffing. So we've been financially drained.
30 people live in Sewell's homes. Chris Gokul has lived in one of the homes for 4 years.
It's good because a lot of homes, they do not feed you. They just want money and you have to find your own food. Here they feed you, and it's comfortable.
The city has introduced a personal care home license under new regulations for rooming houses. Among the requirements, operators have to develop personal care and nutritional meal plans for each resident, in addition to property maintenance, pest management, and fire safety plans. Violators could be fined up to $100,000.
It's more stuff they're asking for us to do. With the limited income, the income remains the same, but then we're going to need to up staffing level. I want to comply. We all want to comply, but we're just going to need the funding, to be able to comply.
The head of the city's bylaw enforcement says money is available for renovations, but not for daily operations. And while there is no requirement to hire professional staff or companies, he says operators need to do their research and engage the necessary people.
We don't want to dehouse anyone. We want to make sure we're housing everyone and they're in a safe, viable, and more affordable types of housing. There is a 12-month period of time to come into compliance. And again, staff really want to work closely with operators to do this.
The chair of the city's housing committee says it's the province who should cover the bill.
We're being really generous in having a slow implementation, giving people time, giving them help to navigate the rules. What we can't do is take over the province's responsibility to provide health care to Torontonians.
Sewell says she fears the rules will force her and other landlords like her to stay unregulated or, in a worst-case scenario, shut her down. A move that could mean the vulnerable residents she cares for have few places, if anywhere, to go. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Scarborough.
Residents in a Scarborough neighborhood say they're fed up with loud noises from nearby Metrolinx train tracks. They're calling for better soundproof walls. But as Clara Pasica explains, Metrolinx says what's in place is adequate.
This GO train is passing through the Scarborough Agent Court neighborhood just a few meters from many homes. The residents who live along this rail corridor say the sounds coming into their gardens and homes when trains pass by have just become too much.
When that train comes through the wall on Huntingwood, that sound literally shakes your core if you're in the backyard. So it's just absolutely, I guess, insane. When you're out there and you're talking to somebody, you literally have to stop for the 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it takes to let the train go by before you start your conversation again. It is very disruptive.
These are pictures that I've taken.
A resident who measured the walls at the end of his yard says it's a technical problem.
And you can see the train as it's going over. The train is 4.7 meters high. And you can see that there's at least a meter sitting up in front, which is the difference between the 3.8 and the 4.7 meters of the train.
The group has been calling on Metrolinx to build higher walls, using sound absorbent instead of sound reflective material to better protect residents from noise. But after hope that a technical review by Metrolinx would result in better walls to reflect new standards put in place by Metrolinx in 2022, Metrolinx told them last month the matter is closed. This Toronto Metropolitan University professor specializing in noise and environmental health says what the residents are experiencing may be more than just annoying.
More and more and stronger evidence for the health effects now, and they're pretty significant, right? We're talking about heart disease, cardiovascular disease, downstream metabolic diseases.
Residents say there are different kinds and heights of walls used along some sections of track already, and want to see better walls used everywhere. In letters to residents, Metrolinx confirmed there were new wall standards introduced in 2022. In a March 2024 letter, a Metrolinx representative said the Agincourt community wouldn't be receiving upgraded walls because their walls already met noise mitigation targets for the area. The group was told the matter was closed. The residents say they aren't giving up their fight for better noise walls and are organizing a protest. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
You are looking at a live shot of Toronto, mainly cloudy tonight with a few flurries, currently sitting at the freezing mark. Let's go to meteorologist Colette Kennedy now with a check on your forecast. And Colette, it has been a wet and cloudy week. Now the big question, will things turn around in time for Monday's eclipse?
Yeah, Calda, I mean, we haven't been able to obviously resist the eclipse talk. That's been going on for a long time. But I have been resisting a little bit giving the forecast when it's so far out, and clouds, and it is really a cloud situation we're talking about, can be very hard to forecast. We're still 5 days away. That's my disclaimer. But starting to show you what we're talking about. So there's your path of totality, and around Toronto, that timeline, although we're just outside, we're still going to have about 99%, is going to be right at about 319, 320. And at that time on Monday, it does appear as though we will have some cloud cover here, Niagara Falls as well. I know lots of folks going there, lots of folks going to Kingston, looking better there, and through Ottawa, and some cloud cover back towards Windsor too. But most of this looks like it could just be some high cloud, high thin cloud, which means we would still be able to see through it and get a decent view then of the eclipse, okay? So nobody panic yet is basically what I'm saying here. Overnight tonight, 0 for Toronto. It means a few wet flurries and about 1 degree or up to 5 degrees for the daytime high, turning things over to showers. There's not a lot of moisture left with this system, but it's still throwing back and rotating a little precipitation towards us. Slightly milder here towards the Windsor area, 3 and 8 tomorrow afternoon. So it primarily stays in the form of some showers. And you can kind of see there's just a little bit of activity left here through the overnight to tomorrow morning. But watch how things are going to push back in with that rotation and sort of blow up, so to speak, into the afternoon hours. Now, it's very widespread. In many cases, it's just an isolated bit of drizzle or light shower, but I just want you to be aware of it. And certainly the clouds are going to hang in even to Saturday. We're still looking at it. Later Saturday afternoon, things starting to break up, probably a little earlier than that. Sarnia back towards Chatham, Kent, and Windsor. And then we are free of that area of low pressure and we can enjoy some nice weather again. From the light snow, yeah, this won't happen just because it's going to melt on contact, but no, there's, yeah, that little bit of potential there. Overnight temperatures down towards freezing or very close to, just slightly milder there towards Sarnia. Here we go towards Toronto, a high of 5 with that drizzle. 8 on Saturday. Sunday, sunshine and 11, and back to that eclipse day on Monday. Mild temperatures, hopefully what is just some high, thin cloud that we can see through. Even if we get some mid-level cloud, Kelda, as long as it's fair weather cloud that kind of moves in and out, we should do okay.
All right, fingers crossed. Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays have unveiled the final phase of Rogers Centre renovations. The new features include reimagined 100-level seating and a new clubhouse. We got a sneak peek ahead of the Jays' home opener on Monday.
Really the purpose of this renovation, beyond some of the premium that we're doing, was really for the everyday fan to make it feel like a ballpark. We demolished the entire bowl and rebuilt a seating bowl that's just a more modern seating bowl that feels like a ballpark. So what fans can expect is better sight lines, they can expect wider seats, more legroom, cup holders, and just the orientation of the bowl now looks at the pitcher's mound and looks at home plate.
This year we've installed a brand new AstroTurf root zone diamonds blend field. Because it's permanent, we had extra things that we could do, and that includes adding a shock pad. One of our challenges is always when you have a new field going in, you don't really know how it's going to play until the players get on it. But you rely on an amazing team. I have an incredible team of workers, and I rely on them heavily. And I'm always confident going into opening day that things will go well.
Next, we have our stuffed Jamaican patty.
I think what fans can really look forward to this year is elevated food and beverage offerings that we've been able to bring forward. So great cocktails for people to enjoy here and things that they can pair with their delicious drinks.
You are in the Corona rooftop patio. This is part of our outfield district, and if you have been up here in the last few years, this used to be one of our least desirable places to watch a baseball game, but not until we reimagined it into our Corona rooftop patio. The Corona rooftop is for those folks who might not want a baseball game and a blue traditional seat to sit in. It's somebody who wants to come to a baseball game for the experience. So if you're going to come up here, you're really going to get a social experience. You're going to get live music, you're going to get entertainment, and you're going to get a good time with people who just like community and coming to the ballpark to come together and see what Toronto has to offer.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.